Okay, folks, we are going live. I haven't went live in a long time. It's been a great amount of months that passed by. I actually been throwing out videos that I've pre-recorded, and it's going to be interesting to see what I can crunch out today. This video is going to be all about MakeHuman and what MakeHuman recently released to the online world. And for those who are into 3D modeling and into trying to create their own 3D characters, 3D human characters. I'm your host, Mike Pugh, by the way. It's been a while, like I said, so it's going to take me a little time to get back into the swing of normal things that I usually do. My computer still has issues, but the good news is I'm going to be getting and purchasing a new computer soon. Hopefully, a gaming computer that could do better than this one. So, if this freezes, I'll see what I can do and try to come back. I don't have that much time for this live stream session, but I'll see what I can crunch out. So let's go to the actual software, MakeHuman, and hopefully it doesn't crash. But this is the software right here. Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm not going to do that first because I don't want the computer to crash and freeze on us. So let me just show you the actual add-on that I brought y'all folks here to see and bear witness to. So we have, this is the Make Skin add-on right here, and that's what you came to this actual live stream to check out, the Make Skin add-on for MakeHuman. So what can you do with it? Pretty much you can create skin textures, and what I noticed is that you can create the actual skin texture nodes. So if you go into the shader on Blender, I don't know if you ever used Blender, but if you used it before, you should be familiar with the shader editor. So that's here. Once you go to this tool in the lower right corner, lower left corner, I should say, and you click the little drop menu, you can access other, how would you say, more like modules. So these modules will be able to pop up, and you can control what is within the modules. So I'm going to the shader editor, and as you can see, let me scroll in by using the scroll wheel, the mouse scroll wheel, and as you can see, I have two that are actually created by default. So this will pertain to what type of object that you choose to select when you're in Blender. So right now, I'm not really selected on any particular object, I don't believe. So let's select this object here. This is the only thing that I have in the Blender viewport, which is the cube. That generally comes in by default. So let me select it. And as soon as I select it, you'll see in the collection up here in the upper right corner, it highlights in blue. When I'm not selected on it, it's not highlighted. So to deselect, you just click anywhere else in the Blender viewport. You can click anywhere other than any other object and it will deselect it. If I choose to select the camera will highlight. If I choose to select the light will highlight, etc. So whatever you have in your viewport is what's going to show up. And you'll notice down here in the shader editor area is going to disappear, whatever was in there. So if I had a different object, it would select that particular object's material if there's any materials applied to that object. So that's basically how Blender works when it comes to selecting objects. And in the viewport, you select them with your left click mouse button. By the way, if y'all never done it before, and it will show what type of material was selected based on the object that you chose to select, which is a 3D object, obviously. So if I delete the cube, there's nothing else in the viewport, so I'm gonna have to add something into the viewport. So I chose to delete it because a vast majority of people will not want to use the cube. That's just a default object. So you can see something when you first start on Blender, when you are brand new and a newbie to Blender. So what can I do now? Now what I can do is I can go and choose to add some sort of a 3D character or avatar or whatever I created, or go to a software to add the 3D avatar, or maybe go to some sort of a website and add a 3D model from that website that is offering 3D models. I also can try to build my own from scratch, but that would take a good amount of time, a very massive amount of time if you're doing it using, more like vertice points on the screen, one by one, etc. So you can also use base meshes, which would 9 times out of 10 come from another website or outside of Blender, another software, 3D software, and you'll be able to, submit it in here as an imported file. You go to File, you go to Import, and 9 times out of 10 is either going to come as OBJ wavefront object file or a FBX file. So that's some basic stuff that most people who are into 3D know how to do already. And if you're brand new to 3D, that's pretty much how you would do it. There's also an add-on that I have that brings in the MakeHuman characters known as the MakeHuman Exchange. I use that. I also use the MakeHuman add-on itself, which is here, and I can bring in, seamlessly bring in my characters, which I showed in previous sessions that I did in my live streams and also through pre-recorded videos. So I can do that. I'll try to do that right now. Hopefully, like I said, the live stream doesn't freeze, and if it does, I'll try to get y'all folks back in after I get the model on. So we'll go out and try to throw up MakeHuman, and hopefully it doesn't suffer a crash and a freeze. I promise once I get this new computer, I hope and promise at the same time that I'll try to give y'all folks more regular videos that I can throw up, and hopefully it doesn't freeze and have crash issues like this computer does. So, and talking about that, what type of computer do I have? I have an Asus. I think it's a GD11 CD, and it's just not working that great. So you can type that into Google and look up all the different issues that people have with it. I just don't like it that much because it has that kind of thing. Now, I got a character here, kind of in the nudie side or whatever, but it's a 3D model. This is for education, so it shouldn't have too many of a problem or too much of a problem when it comes to being on YouTube or whatever. It's all good. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna throw that character in. How you do it? What I should do is just put some underwears on it or something. I don't know, but I just want to do it just for the skin purpose. And what I'll do is make sure that the character's not too much in the lower portion, so you don't see that part as it comes in as a synchronized character that I choose to import. So with the MakeHuman add-on, you can bring in characters pretty much using the newer tools of MakeHuman. They have this community type of a synchronization, which basically once you have the add-on on Blender for MakeHuman, it automatically can tie in the model. So I'm going to go in and put import human, or click import human. Let me go and change the Blender unit size to decimeter first, because it comes in as a much larger size or a smaller size if you don't change the unit size. So let's go and click import. The little import button will bring it in, and let me scale it down. So I'm gonna hit the S key and then move the character, and obviously it's not navigating on the right axis, so I want to put it on the 3D axis, or 3D cursor axis I should say, in terms of pivoting, so that when I do the actual scaling I can bring it down to a nice size. So I put it on 3D cursor, hit the S key on the keyboard, and I can bring it down to a nice size so y'all folks can see, at least to see the head part and some of the body portions that you can see. So basically this is it right here. I can change the shading, but I don't want to do that because that's going to apply too much how would you say, data going through the communications on my computer, and then my computer will most definitely freeze at that point. So what I'm going to do here is scroll this up a little bit so you can see the shaders that come in as soon as I selected the skin. So I selected anywhere on the skin, and you'll see these are the shaders that come up. And these shaders are not actually what I want, so what I can do is delete them. So I click and select each one of them using the shift key and the left click mouse button while I depress the shift key on the keyboard, and that allows me to select and highlight only the ones I want to select. And then I hit the delete key on the keyboard, and that deletes all of those. I want to keep the material output node. These are all nodes, by the way, in the shader editors, more like the module. And what it does, it gives you the ability to change the consistency and the texture of the 3D model's texture. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to now go and scroll down a little bit and try to access that skin actual material add-on. So here goes the skin add-on. How I got the skin add-on is from the most recent MakeHuman. I believe it's the nightly build. So if you go to the MakeHuman website, it's a makehumancommunity.org, I believe. If you go to that website, you'll get to see the most latest actual offerings that they have, which are nightly builds. And if you go to the latest one, it comes in as a zip folder. And I'll show you the zip folder. I don't want to go to the website because, like I said, this computer is going to freeze 9 times out of 10. So what I'm going to do is go to where I got the download at and pray that it doesn't freeze even when I'm doing that. So what I'm going to do real quick, let me just go to a folder I know that I can navigate around and get to the MakeHuman subfolder that I created a while back. And let's see, here goes MakeHuman subfolder, and I believe I put it in programs. I called another folder known as programs in order to hide wherever I wanted to put or store wherever I wanted to put these differing nightly builds and stuff like that. So here goes the nightly builds folder. This is the main folder that came in as a zip folder. I actually extracted it. So what you got to do is right click it, extract all, and then it becomes a regular folder right beside the main folder or zip folder. And then you can go in and you can read it. It says read me, but it doesn't really tell me that much. So what I decided to do is go a little bit further into another folder that's here. I believe this is the software itself for MakeHuman, so I can double click it and it should be able to run the MakeHuman community software, which is the most latest build. And then also you double click and you go into these into that main folder that's in it for the Blender add-ons. So these are Blender add-ons for Blender 2.8, and what I noticed is that they have this Make Skin one, which I didn't realize that it was a brand new add-on that they threw in. So that's why I'm coming up with this video, so y'all folks can check that out and pretty much how to get into it. And once you get to the MakeHuman community website, try to download it on your computer, get the download off of the web browser, and then it comes into your download section. Should be like in this section here of your computer, of Windows computer, if you have a Windows computer. I don't know if it's a Mac computer how it will work with Mac, but you see this Windows downloads area. It's going to be defaulted there, and it's up to you to move it. So I moved it over to my MakeHuman program subfolder, and then it's here. So what you can do is grab any of these and you can add it to your Blender tools. So how you do it with Blender 2.8, you go to Edit, then you go to Preferences, and then from Preferences you go to Add-ons. So that's what I'm doing right now. It might take a little while for it to come up. And then you go to Install, and once you're done that, you just find the folder that you chose to put it in, or subfolders, wherever you chose to put it. So for me to get to it, I got it right here, MakeHuman. So I go to MakeHuman, and that actually isn't it. So I have multiple MakeHuman folders and subfolders, so that's a different one. So what I do, I hit the up arrow to move through the parent directory, and then go back to try to find that main folder that I put it in. I put it in 3D Objects folder. That's the main folder, and then the subfolder is MakeHuman. And then I would go to Programs, where I chose to create that folder. You can also create folders here in Blender, which is a new thing that they recently threw up. So say I wanted to create a folder right now, I click this Create New Directory, and then call it whatever I want it to be. So I can call it Make Skin if I wanted to, right? Hit enter, and now I got a new folder. So if I go back over here and I back out, you'll see that it's right here in the MakeHuman Programs subfolder. See, I have Make Skin. So I just now created that off of Blender, which is pretty dope. In the past, you wasn't able to do all that stuff. So Blender 2.8, I believe 2.82 has that ability, and I believe Blender 2.80 had it too. I'm not sure, but the Blender developers definitely offered some really dope, ways for us to manipulate our files and stuff like that. So here we're gonna double click in here, then double click on add-ons for Blender, and then you'll see it's right in there. You got makeskin.zip. So how you would add it as an add-on, you select it, or maybe I wanted to do make target. Doesn't matter. You select whichever one you want, and then you go to install add-on by selecting this blue button, it will try to add it. I'm not going to do it because I already have it on my computer on this particular version of Blender. So it only will work for Blender 2.8 and above. So anything from 2.8 to 2.81 to 2.82, 2.83 is going to work on all of those. So that's that. And basically, once you click install, what I recommend for y'all folks to do is save it. There's an option to save it as well. So you go here where it says save and load. You click it, and it should save automatically if you have this selected that says auto save temporary files, or I believe that's the saving area. If not, you can click this here and then save preferences. There's little 3 bars that you see here, and save preferences. So that's that part. And from that point, you should be able to see it in this bar over here, this little toolbar that shows up over here on the right side. In the previous versions of Blender, it used to show up on the left side, but now all of the add-ons show up on the right side. So that's that. All right, so now say I wanted to create the actual skin once it's activated. I go to, like, say I wanted a normal map, I want a bump map, I want a metallic map, I don't know, whatever kind of maps I want. I would now choose to select create material, and you'll see that all the nodes will show up after I click it. If it doesn't, it says object already has a material and only one material at a time. So that's probably this material output. Let me delete that. So I believe all of them should have been deleted. I just forgot exactly how I did it. So now I'm going to click create material, and it's still having an issue. So what I'm going to do is select overwrite existing and then click create material, and now it works. So that would be most definitely the way to do it. So just go and select overwrite existing, and now you see I have all of what I chose. We have a normal map, we have a bump map, we also have a diffuse texture and a metallic texture. Now keep in mind, one thing that I noticed is that it doesn't show up with any particular file for each of these textures. So if you don't have your own files created for the texture, then you're probably going to have to borrow one. So this is kind of, I don't know, a redundancy type of scenario right at this moment in time, unless the MakeHuman developers have another way to do it that I don't know of, in terms of getting the actual skin textures in a JPEG or a PNG file type. Good example to show you would be the diffuse texture, which is generally the main texture that will show up on the skin. You click this open area or open button right here near the new in order to add the image texture. So you click it, and then what you're going to do is search for where you have an image texture that you know it's been located on your computer. Now, how you get image textures from MakeHuman, you would have to actually export an actual OBJ file to a particular folder on your computer. And I've done it many times in the past, so I'm just going to go to those that I have done it with and utilized. So let me just try to find it real quick so that way I can get to it without too much issues. So let's see, try to figure out where it's at. 3 objects, MakeHuman, and then I'll just go to some sort of a character that I created in the past and see if I can get to the textures. So here goes some textures that I have and image files for particular textures. So I'm gonna go to this young light skinned male diffuse texture, which is a diffuse map. And if y'all folks did any research and tried to study and learn how these things work, it's basically just an image graphic in either JPEG or PNG file type. And what it does is it maps itself digitally over the 3D model, and it utilizes UV mapping. So if y'all folks don't know anything about UV mapping, it would behoove you to go and read up on it and try to research and try to study and learn what UV mapping is in relation to 3D modeling. So let's click open image, and what it's going to do is tie itself in through the diffuse texture, and hopefully the computer doesn't freeze, but I'll try to show y'all folks what it looks like. Instead of going all the way over to the rendered side, which will actually take up the most data on the computer, I'll try to go to viewport shading, material preview, and you should be able to see a little bit of the textured look. So right now, this is what the skin looks like, but it looks like the eyes is kind of messed up. So I don't know if the texture went over the eyes. Yeah, it did go over the eyes, so I made a little error right there. So let's undo everything I did. Take all that out and leave the, let's go all the way back. We're going to undo and bring the eyes back to where it normally would be at. Keep undoing. All right, there goes the eyes. So I made an error and I selected the eyes by mistake. So that could happen sometimes. I'm going to select the skin instead and delete everything here or overwrite that. So let's go up, and basically it's like a review of what I did. So these are the ones that were initially part of the texture that came in when I actually imported through the import make human character tab or button. So what I'm going to do here is select normal, bump. I'll just do normal and bump. I'm not going to do everything. And then overwrite existing and create material. Now it comes in, so you see it's only the diffuse intensity, diffuse texture. The bump did not show up. It's all good. Now I did notice I would have some issues with the alpha causing the issue. So if you want to remove the alpha, you can do that. Take the alpha off and then it comes back. And now it's just missing the texture file. So let's go to hit the open button for the diffuse texture and try to bring that texture back in. So it's here, young light skinned male, diffuse 3, and then open. And it should show up. So there goes the skin texture right there. So that's the actual file that I was talking about that you probably nine times out of 10 do not have on hand yourself. But if you're having struggles with trying to create nodes and things like that with your 3D models, or more definitely for Make Human, then you can use this add-on to help you to create the skin texture, as long as you have the file for the actual the skin itself. So you have to have that image file, texture file. If you don't, then I guess you don't have it. It's all good. But at least they're in the working progress of creating this thing where it's really, really useful. It looks like it's very useful. Now here it says import material. So this could be another way to get the material in there. So you just go in, overwrite existing, and then click import material as opposed to create material. So you can bring in the material that way. And they have ways for you to rewrite information on here. So if you created the skin texture yourself, then obviously you would be able to put your own information in there as the author, tag, description, and you also can put a license in there, a CC0 license if you chose. That's a Creative Commons license, and placing it into the public domain, or you can choose CC BY, which is like a share license type, or I don't know exactly 100%. You would be smart to go and look it up on Google to find out what a CC BY license is. So don't take my word for it 100%. Definitely always do research to find out and verify yourself. AGPL, this one says Afuro GNU public license. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know how that one works, but I would look it up if I wanted to know as well. So other than that, that's it. I'm gonna slam shut this particular video tutorial session, and hopefully y'all guys and gals got the gist of what's going on with it. It's really not hard, not too difficult, but it takes some time to learn how to mess around with materials and utilizing third-party software like Make Human or other software outside of the scope of Blender in order to get your characters in there and to be able to work them out where you can use them. You can eventually, you know, come up with making a face rig for your characters, or make a full body rig and animate your characters into a film or whatever you choose to do. I'm getting closer and closer to that part, and in my learning capabilities, my learning phases, and discovery, whatever I discover out there on YouTube. So other than that, I'm out of here. Joe Love and peace to all. I'll see y'all folks next time. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to hit the thumbs up. Feel free to share this video socially if you feel it's going to benefit other people. Hopefully I could do more of these, and I'm glad that this video did not collapse and did not have any issues. And that's all I got. See you next time. Peace.
Baby, that's your juice.
Thanks, baby.